Content warning, a bunch of unpleasant stuff is going to show up, so get ready for that. This is part 1 of the 2-part subscriber special.
The following program was filmed before a live studio audience.
I rewatched Tokyo Ghoul, so you don't have to. I've got a fresh memory of everything. I haven't seen this show in years. First off, some exposition. World where humans have only one natural predator, and that's ghouls. These ghouls have got these things called kaganes, and they're like bioweapons that are attached to the fucking ghoul, and that's not very good for the humans. So there's this thing called the CCG, and they're like a secret police that takes care of all the ghouls for the humans. And there's these people within the CCG, and they're called doves. And these doves are like the investigators, special investigators just for like ghoul murders. And these doves have got these things called queen Ks, which are just like stolen kaganes that humans can use. And they've decided to divide the city that everything takes place in, you'll never guess which one, into boroughs called wards. So you're going to hear the word ward thrown around a lot. Season 1 mostly focuses on the 20th and 11th ward. Episode 1, it opens to a helicopter. Some CCG guys are talking about some ghouls doing some shenanigans in some buildings, and shenanigans are happening because a lady's eating a bunch of people, having the time of her life, and then this kingpin looking guy comes along, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna fucking steal your fingers. And he does this stimming thing with his own fingers where he like intentionally dislocates them or something. And then he reveals, I'm gonna kidnap you now, which is just fun. So she like does the maneuvers on him and manages to escape him while also stealing his like plier thingies that he's got. He's got these pliers that he really loves, and he gets upset that she stole them from him. Just as she's about to throw the clippers away, she hits him with a I don't want to play with you anymore, straight out of Toy Story, and then title card. The next day, they're talking about the stuff that was going on last night on the news. The main character, Kaneki, is with his friend Hide, and they're in a cafe having a conversation about places to take people out on dates. And Kaneki's like, I'm planning on taking this girl out to a library. And Hide's all like, a library? What the fuck? Who takes a fucking first date out of a library? Fucking loser. Get a load of this guy, am I right? Hide calls a waitress over and orders a coffee. He then asks her name, and without hesitation goes straight into the you wanna hop on it real quick shit. He fails miserably and she runs away. It was that bad. Kaneki then sees the girl who he plans on taking out, called Rize. He hits her with the awooga eyes as she walks past. Hide's all like, nah, no way, man said her, you want to go out with her, that's crazy. And Hide leaves despite ordering a coffee a few minutes ago, but don't fucking question it. Kaneki, now all alone, does that corny look at her, then look away, and then do the cheeky look back at her type thing. And Kaneki gets to go out with her because they both like the same author. And he's telling all this to Hide, who's outside, and near him are some police talking about dead bodies being eaten by ghouls, which just shows that this shit is getting a bit out of hand, and there's this mysterious binge eater who's appearing around and killing everyone. On the date now, Kaneki and Rize are eating and talking about writers. Rize doesn't eat that much though, foreshadowing. She says she lives in a dangerous area where all the ghouls are, so he offers to walk her home. It's really lovely. He gives some exposition on why he loves books so much. His dad died at a young age and his mother was at work, so he just chilled out in his dad's study with all these books. Very sad. And then it gets even more sad because she says, oh, I live in this fucking dark, you can't even see the end of it, alley. And he's like, sure, I see nothing wrong with this. So they both walk into this fucking creepy, most suspicious alley I've ever fucking seen. And no red flags just appear in this guy's head. Quite a bit in their walk, they stop and she says this is her place, even though they're outside the construction site. I don't see a house anywhere. He hits her with the, can I see you again? line. Rize reveals she's super into him and likes the way he looks at her, been stalking him for quite a while now. Red mist starts appearing as they give each other a hug, but he's shaking, something's off. Reveals, oh no, she's a ghoul, and this weird thorn thing pops out and almost gets him in the eye, and there's red mist everywhere to show how disorienting everything is. She takes a chomp out of his neck and then goes on about some corny stuff about dog psychology. You know, dog psychology where it's like, oh, I just love it when people suffer. A bunch of construction stuff falls on her mysteriously. He passes out. Later, he gets taken to the hospital and he can hear the doctors talking in his coma state. Organ transplant happens. Symbolic shit. Naked lady touching his eye. His eye's black and red now. He wakes up out of his coma state. He can't eat regular food. Dun dun dun. The doctors blame his lack of appetite on the boogie. PTSD. And then says bye to the doctors when he feels better enough to walk, not knowing that he's now a ghoul. He takes a little depression nap. News is on, talks about how ghouls only eat human meat because their tongues work a little different when compared to humans. Hide bought him a burger and he thought he'd test out his appetite to see if he really is a ghoul. He vomits it back up because he's a wasteful shit. Tattered and defeated, he goes back to bed and he realizes he's got a bunch of missed calls from Hide. Hide is at this other guy's house and the other guy tells Hide to dump Kaneki as a friend because he's ghosting him. Kaneki finally decides to leave his house and go to a book signing but changes his mind just as he's outside the library. And then he becomes all, oh, the wolves are coming out, as he resists the urge to not eat a small child. I'm not joking, this guy literally wants to eat a small child in this. He goes home, his eyes red and black again. He gets haunted by Rize, the ghoul lady, but now she's a ghost, except probably not, I don't know. He tries to cut himself, right, just to prove he's not a ghoul, because ghouls, they don't take damage from blades. As a final test to see if he's a ghoul, he sees on the news that apparently ghouls can't be cut, so he tries to cut himself, but his skin's got protection 5, so he gives up. He's a ghoul now, he just has to accept it. But what's this? He gets a smell. Sniff. He runs towards this really nice smell. He says it smells like his mum's cooking, it's that good. But then he realizes it's a ghoul eating a human. And the ghoul's like, oh, well, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna eat this, but I'll let you have some. But he loses his shit, like, oh, I don't want to eat a human. The guy who was telling Hide to leave Kaneki as a friend for ghosting him is here now. His name is Nishiki, but you don't know that yet. He kills the other ghoul who was offering Kaneki some food. Nishiki then pulls out the I'm the alpha and you can't eat on the alpha's turf shit. Nobody likes him, he's a bitch. Toka, the girl who works at the coffee shop and Hide tried talking to earlier, pulls up and she calls Nishiki out for being a bitch. Turns out it's very bureaucratic in the ghoul community and places are divided into turfs or something. I don't quite fully understand it. She beats him up and then Nishiki runs away. And then she offers Kaneki some meat thinking he's a ghoul, but Kaneki isn't fully converted to the whole eating meat thing, so he's like, nah, I don't want that shit, it's cringe. He thinks ghouls are monsters, and then she responds with, what did you just call me? The main theme of the anime finally starts kicking in. She sees that this guy's a one-eyed ghoul, and that's not normal. They usually have 2 red eyes, but this guy's only got 1. Ooh, wonder what that can mean. She tells him to stop trying to be different and eat the meat. He's saying, no, I don't want it, resisting the urges, the demons coming inside of him, trying not to eat this meat. And an epic speech about how eating meat is corny as hell and he doesn't want to be a part of that life. She force feeds him some man meat and then credits roll. The same place we left off. Toka is trying to get him to eat on it and he's like, nuh-uh, and then spits it out, calls her a monster. Again, she's like, what did you just call me? She beats him up like, I'm not a monster, calls him a monster too now, because he's technically a ghoul, so he's a part of the monster community, talks about how shitty it is to be a ghoul, throws that dead guy's head right at his face, and then later on at his house, he's looking at some package, his stomach's rumbling, cuts back to when the girl was beating him up. He's insisting he's human. She's like, well, maybe you're gonna have to starve yourself, bitch ass. New guy pops up out of nowhere. I'm calling him Unk because I have no self-respect. Unk is just a nice guy who accommodates ghouls and stops them from becoming thugs. He gives Kaneki some coffee. Kaneki looks at it all nervously like, oh, well, all my previous attempts at eating food have been awful. so I'm not really sure about this one, but he gives it the benefit of the doubt and turns out it's really nice. Unk was the one who gave him the package from before. Unk and Toka talk about the transplant that happened with Kaneki and maybe that's why he's a ghoul. Kaneki starts hallucinating seeing Rize, but this is right after he does some dark psychology, I crave gore stuff, and he also says flesh a bunch of times. It's really gross and weird, but like, yeah, Rize pops up and she's trying to be all comforting, even though it's not really comforting, it's just really uncomfortable. She's trying to be like, hey man, you're a ghoul now, just accept it, feel the rain on your skin, words can't bring you down, just eat some human, it's not that big a deal. And he's just like literally at the cusp of giving in to temptation, but then he's like, no, I will not give in to temptation. He's like, oh, just check the ball, bro. And just before he's about to check the ball, so to speak, he gets a phone call, and now he's wearing an eye patch. Kaneki goes out and he hears people in public talking about how great food is, but now he's just so detached. He's like, oh, how can these motherfuckers eat all this nasty ass food? Hide spots him and gets all mesmerized, like, oh man, I haven't seen you in so many years. I haven't seen you in so long. He does some more good friend stuff, saying, oh man, you haven't eaten, you should eat some more, you know, caring about his friend. Hide is about to introduce Kaneki to Nishiki from the last episode, but Nishiki is kind of busy with someone else, and then it gets a bit awkward, but she runs away, so it's fine. And then Kaneki recognizes Nerd Guy, I mean Nishiki, from the night before, and he's all like, Raggy, what do we do? Obviously, he can't reveal that he knows Nishiki, and Nishiki takes advantage of that and does some creepy fucking, it's nice to see you with this like weird ass smirk, creepy as fuck. And the reason why Hide wants to talk to Nishiki is because he needs some cheat sheets on some tests, and Nishiki's like, sorry guys, it's at my house, so we have to go to my house. Whose house are they at right now? No clue. They're about to leave Kaneki, but Kaneki's like, if I leave this guy alone with my best friend, he's probably gonna eat him. So yeah, probably tag along. Kaneki starts to realize how big the ghoul fandom is now that he's a ghoul himself, and he's been kind of blind to it before. Nishiki intentionally hands him some food, knowing full well he can't eat that food because it's normal food and not human. While Kaneki is talking about how great he is at public deception, he betrays both of them and kicks Hide right into the stratosphere. And in some alley, they start having a fight, and Nishike says that Kaneki smells like a female ghoul. Can't imagine why. Then he goes to talk more on the whole dog psychology thing, where it's like, oh, you love gore, don't you? You love it when you eat people who trust you, don't you? It's gross. And Kaneki's like, man, fuck your whack ass dog psychology. And as a response to that, he punches Kaneki through the gut. Nishiki then like grabs the food physically, like it out of his mouth he ate earlier, and like spits it out because ghouls, they get ill if they eat any human food. He returns to beat the piss out of Hide, but then Kaneki steps in all weakly and is like, oh man, you shouldn't be doing that. Fish are friends, not food after all. Kaneki tries to hit Nishiki with his bag, which Nishiki then counters with an anime kick. Not like a regular kick, anime kick, you know, where they get kicked and then they get thrown into Mars. Nishiki keeps trying to convert Kaneki to the dark side, but Kaneki isn't budging. Defeated, Kaneki remembers some good memories from the past of him and Hide. Nishiki then releases his Kagane, uses that for his second wind, where he transforms into his own Kagane, or like his Kagane comes out, and then he fucks up Nishiki by stabbing him a bunch of times in the chest. Kaneki really fucks Nishiki's shit up and he's out of the fight, but now Rize appears again as a hallucination, and she tries to get Kaneki to eat Hide, and he actually comes close to eating his best friend, the guy he literally just fought to save. Rize keeps on prodding him to eat him, and he's on some lemon crab shit, so he actually almost submits to temptation. But once again, Toka comes to save the day, and she gives him a bit of a reality check, like, eating your friend is kind of fucked up. Maybe you shouldn't do that. And he's like, no, he's mine. I'm gonna eat him. And she steps in, stops him from eating his friend. Toka and Kaneki are about to have a fight, but it cuts to black and we get to miss out on all that. And now he's awake in some house. Fortunately, Hide didn't get eaten by Kaneki, and Unk talks some inspirational stuff about being best of both ghoul and human worlds. Just before the episode ends, there's two detective-looking motherfuckers running around a rooftop. One's a little eccentric with white hair. He's got a golem from Lord of the Rings type thing going. He gets all excited and smells something. He jumps off some railings and finds those clipper things from the first episode that Kingpin guy had. You know, them plier things. He finds them. End credits. Episode 3. In a doctor's office, the doctor's looking at someone, but then Kingpin barges in and kills the guy that the doctor's talking to. Kingpin is looking for some what's-it that the doctor made him. And while Kingpin is doing all this intimidation stuff, two people are hiding behind a curtain, all nervous, hoping Kingpin doesn't spot them. Kingpin then leaves, and there's this mother and this daughter, and they're like, what do we do now? And before we find out the answer to that question, at the coffee shop, Kaneki is making some coffee with Unk. Unk gives some exposition on how the coffee shop is a hangout for both ghouls and humans. Kaneki sees Hide downstairs talking about how Toka saved them from an accident, undefined accident, like Nishiki fucking kicked him, and I'm pretty sure he knew that Nishiki kicked him, so I don't know what he's talking about. And then Toka goes up to Kaneki and is like, we better keep it on the hush hush, otherwise she'll have to kill him. The two people who are hiding in the doctor's office from earlier pull up, all drenched from the rain. Toka recognizes them and gives them towels to dry off. The mother is called Ryoko and the daughter is called Hinami, and they're both ghouls. Toka tells Kaneki that they're going to be looking after them now, and she refuses to give any further details and gets a bit pissy right after Kaneki tries to further up on any detail. She changes the subject to the doves who are popping up more and more. Speaking of the doves, the doves are having a meeting at the CCG, and the two detectives from the last episode are there, Armon and Mardo. Armon puts his hand up like a little nerd, showing them the pliers that Kingpin lost. He thinks it's some kind of medical device used for ghouls because it's made out of a special steel. He also adds that ghoul eatings are going down. The head of the meeting praises Armon for his detective work, and then there's this playful banter between Marto, the eccentric silver hair guy, and the Richard Nixon head of the department guy. Armon and Mardo both get promoted to work in the 20th Ward, then a speech ensues on how ghouls must be eradicated. With the meeting concluded, they use the pliers that they found as a clue to find Kingpin. Back at the cafe, Unk is training Kaneki to fake eat real food just so that he can pass off as human. Kaneki then attempts to eat a sandwich, only to get a little bite off before vomiting it all out and just going on about how horrible that little bit of sandwich was. I like the way Unk takes the piss out of him afterwards, overreacting over eating just a little bit of sandwich. Average reaction to finding a bit of tomato in your food. Unk then gives Kaneki some sugar cube looking things. They dissolve into coffee and suppress his appetite. Kaneki obviously asks what this shit's made out of, and Unk's like, it's best you don't know. And Kaneki just accepts that. I mean, it's a bit amoral, but whatever. Unk then asks Kaneki to stay late to help with the shop. Toka would do it, but she's got an exam or some shit. Kaneki is tasked to go get food shopping. He has the PTSD, I don't want to go kill people, and I mean, food shopping sounds like killing people. Unk reassures him though, calm down, motherfucker, it's not like that. You're just gonna go out for a little drive, and you're not gonna hurt anyone. A new character called Yomo drives him to go get food shopping, and he tries to find out what food shopping is through Yomo, but Yomo is just fucking keeping it quiet, aura farming, as the kids say. I hate myself so much. They park up beside a cliff, they get out, and Kaneki leans on some barriers, and Yomo's like, what, don't lean on the barriers, they're loose, and then he just falls off. He falls off the side of a cliff, but he's got the Kagane, which helps him and stops him from falling to his death. With very little warning, he just falls off like that. What the fuck? Anyway, yeah, he uses his Kagane to stop him from falling to his death, and he finds a dead guy who had jumped off the cliff after committing, which is just nice. Yomo then reveals that he uses dead bodies who weren't murdered technically as food, so it's that Rick and Morty episode all over again. As an interesting little feature, Yomo does a little prayer before they steal the guy's body. Doesn't really matter because he's gonna get eaten up anyway, but it's still interesting. Cut to a guy who's walking down an alley and he's all cloaked so you can't see his face, and a ghoul sneaks up behind him. But then the cloaked guy reveals to be Mado and he just fucks the ghoul up. Armand shows up and they try to question the ghoul and find out what the clippers are and what they mean, and then it just cuts back to the coffee shop. Unk is talking about how Kaneki needs to get a mask, and Toko's like, oh, it's my day off, I don't want to do it, it smells like dick anyway, fucking... But then Unk is like, the doves are in town, and they're the duo who were fucking up ghoul shit earlier, and then she gets a clue as to the seriousness of the situation. She does some more of the, listen here, loser, you better shut up or I'll rock your shit. Fucking, it's trying to come across as endearing, but it isn't endearing dialogue. The next day, they go to this freaky-looking mask shop, and the shopkeeper's nowhere to be seen. The shopkeeper was hiding, and he jump scares Kaneki, reveals his name is Uta, and he starts sniffing Kaneki up. This isn't the first, by the way. There's gonna be more references to sniffing Kaneki. While he's sniffing Kaneki up, he does some small talk with Toka, like, oh, what's the deal with the doves and all that? They're just popping up everywhere. Uta casually offers Kaneki a chance to get freaky with him later, eating people. Kaneki declines. He starts talking masks with Kaneki, what kind of mask Kaneki might get, and like little features he might add to it. He explains how the masks protect them from the human world. And then he talks about how hardworking Toka is when you actually get to know her. So he, instead of being scared of Toka, actually tries to get her to know her a little bit. Kaneki leaves and talks to Toka about Hinami and her mother and how he can help. Toka then opens up and tells them about how Hinami and her mother had to run away from their home. Hinami is a little bit anxious because she left her father behind. So then he asks about the point of the masks. She reveals the doves be hunting down the ghouls, so they need the masks for protection from them specifically, because once they get to know the ghoul's face, they can actually track them down, and it's really fucked. Back to the two detectives beating the piss out of some ghouls, trying to figure out what these darn plier things are. But the ghouls don't help, they have no clue what it is, so they both get murdered brutally. And then the detectives walk off like nothing happened, but one of the ghouls actually survived. And then we go back to Kaneki and his whole stuff, now trying to get to know Hinami, but he walks in on her eating human, and he freaks out and runs away, like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, just cartoonishly runs away from her eating up a human steak. He calms down and comes back and brings her a coffee, and she asks what kind of ghoul he is, because I think she's never seen a ghoul with only one eye before, so it's weird for her. Kaneki sees that she's reading a book, so he helps her learn some new words, and it's a nice wholesome moment, which is then broken up by the detectives following that ghoul from earlier who was still alive, using that ghoul to lead them to more ghouls, so they could maybe finally get a lead as to what this Clipper thing is. The next day, a guy in a red suit and blue hair is just having a stroll, and the coffee shop is all serene. The red suit man walks in and just takes a big whiff with this weird accent, saying he feels more relaxed, and the episode ends. A whole lot of things you think they go somewhere, but then, like, no, they don't, but, like, they kind of do. It's just really frustrating. Anyway, yeah, end credits. Episode 4. The man in the red suit from last episode, we find out his name is Skiyama, and he's met Toka before. He sniffs the room a bunch and does a bit of caressing and icky comments, fantasizing about having Kaneki having in quotes there. That's what he says. Before we can process any of the grossness that just came out of his mouth. Toka and her friend are eating some food together, but then her friend tries feeding her some of her food. Toka pretends it's fine, but later goes to the toilet and tries not to vomit it out. She's been all nice and saying, "Oh, I love it," compliments to the chef, even though I don't think you do. We're with Kaneki now. Kaneki's reading a book in a park somewhere. Tsukiyama pulls up out of nowhere trying to hit on Kaneki. They find common ground on books, and I find a new word called bibliophile, which I'm guessing means someone who really loves books, but I didn't Google it. Tsukiyama tells Kaneki that he actually knew Rize in one of the places that Rize would hang out and read books. He's clearly not learned from his last mistake of just trusting some random person he's never met before to go to some book thing, but that was probably a while ago, so the trauma of it all has kind of faded away. After Kaneki's organized that obvious trap to go down, he finishes his shift back at the cafe, and just as he's about to leave, Yomo wants to talk to him and takes him to a dark alley. It's major red flags moment again, but then Yomo tells Kaneki about how doves are on the prowl, and he does some sparring with Kaneki, and he says, "I'll teach you how to fight." Yomo tells him that there's one more place that they have to go to. Yomo takes Kaneki to a bar, and we meet this new character called Itari, and she reveals she's running the joint. She spills some what is probably blood on him and then rips his eye patch off like, "Oh, I want to see it." She gets all excited about his one eye and reveals that there's another one-eye ghoul out there. Kaneki asks what happens if ghouls and humans mix. Turns out it doesn't work that well. Apparently half-blood ghouls come up better and stronger than full-blood ghouls, but it doesn't come up again this season, so immediately forgotten. Kaneki asks about who Rize was as a ghoul, but then Yomo gets a bit visibly uncomfortable. Itari starts talking about how mysterious her death was and very likely wasn't an accident, and someone was spotted on top of the construction site, allegedly. But then Yomo tells them to stop, like, "You better shut up or I'll do something." The next day, Tsukiyama and Kaneki are on their little date thingy. Kaneki is feeling all frazzled. He asks Tsukiyama what Rize was like. Tsukiyama flashbacks to a conversation he had with her about how he'd eat people and she was calling his way of eating whack as fuck. He loses his shit in the memory but snaps out of it and accidentally breaks a cup he's holding, and Kaneki touches the cup like an idiot and cuts his finger, which, why would you touch it? It's sharp. And also, did you notice how a few episodes ago he couldn't cut himself with a knife because ghouls are impervious to metal, but now he somehow managed to cut himself on the finger with a broken piece of cup. So Kaneki has a cut on his finger, and Tsukiyama has an implied erection at the sight of Kaneki's blood. It's weird, I don't like it. He offers to go on a stroll to Rize's favorite place to hang out, but first Tsukiyama snatches the bloody handkerchief he uses to wipe up his finger blood, and then he takes it to the toilet and starts sniffing it. Really sniffs it, like gives it the full inhale. They go, he has a shower, they're at the hangout place, some butler brings him some new clothes, and then once he gets dressed, a maid comes along wearing a mask and gives him some coffee. Doesn't say anything else. He's trying to find out, like, where's Tsukiyama's at, what the fuck is going on. He takes a sip, the room turned out to be a trap room, and he gets pistoned up into some arena. And Tsukiyama reveals he was baiting him here because he could smell the humanness from Kaneki. Whole bunch of spectators in the crowd cheering, getting ready to see Kaneki get fucking mulched and eaten by some gladiator. One of the crowd members, called Madame A, I'm pretty sure they don't come up ever again, reveals she owns one of the gladiators that's about to fight. Cue this giant baby looking thing with a blindfold over its head. They have a fight. Kaneki does some like matador bullfighting thing and tries to escape, and reveals the coffee he drank earlier was laced. They laced his shit. He's tweaking. I'm guessing the drug they laced him with was supposed to make him weaker and unable to escape, but he still manages to squirm out of baby man's hands. And then he takes his eye patch off and reveals his ghoul eye, and Tsukiyama realizes that, oh shit, Kaneki is something special because of his one eye, so he calls off the fight and kills Baby Man instead. And he's secretly plotting to quote-unquote have Kaneki all to himself. Episode 5. Some freaky stuff happens where Kaneki is trapped in some room and about to be eaten alive by a bunch of ghouls and almost gets saved by Tsukiyama, but then Tsukiyama turns on him and reveals he's going to eat him as well, but then Kaneki wakes up from this nightmare he was having. Intro. A bunch of people are talking about how there are more doves showing up around the 20th ward and it feels like they've fully moved in now. Hunk tells Kaneki to go check on Toka. He goes and Hinami's in Toka's house learning how to read and shit. Toka's babysitting her. Meanwhile, Tsukiyama's in the library reading and throwing books away for some reason. It's a big display as per usual. Toka's friend, who is the reason why she's sick, pulls up. She's brought her some more food, which will only make her more sick. But she spots Kaneki in the background, and that pisses her off for some reason. I guess, like, she's assuming that, oh, you're not making time for me because of him. She leaves in a harumph and leaves the dumplings with her. I don't know if this is an insult in Japan, but she gives both Kaneki and Toka the thumbs up, and then leaves. Toka forces herself to eat. Back at Tsukiyama's place, he's coming up with ways he can eat Kaneki, and he like says some pretentiousisms and like does some French stuff and talks about music, and he's like, of course, I'll do this. All the while sniffing the bloody handkerchief, and I thought he threw it away. Back to Kaneki, he's walking along the street and he comes across some ghouls beating up Nishiki. He's like, hey, knock it off, guys. Turns out his training with Yomo off screen is actually paying off. He's getting better at dodging all the attacks. He wins the fight and drags Nishiki back home, and Nishiki's all fucked up. Nishiki's girlfriend is there to look after him. Despite not meeting, I don't think she recognizes him as the guy who fucked Nishiki up earlier when they had that fight in that alley. But Nishiki says he's cool. Later, Kaneki and Nishiki's girlfriend, who's named Kimi, as we find out, talk about why she's going out with him despite her being human, him being ghoul. She gives some like really gray area morals about how, oh, I don't know the people he kills, so it's fine. She's scared for Nishiki's health, but Kaneki assures her that he's gonna look after her and make sure he's fine. She then gets kidnapped by Tsukiyama, which is just fucking great. And Kaneki finds a note saying, pull up and save her or else. Nishiki comes along despite being all fucked up, and they both band together to defeat Tsukiyama. Tsukiyama has Kimi on an altar and explains his master plan to both of them. Tsukiyama wants Kaneki to eat Kimi while he eats Kaneki at the same time. Like, I'm guessing it's got like some turducken thing going on. They both call him disgusting, and he's all like, your sweet ass is the reason I'm doing this in the first place, so maybe if you didn't taste so good, I wouldn't be doing this. Then he proceeds to beat the shit out of Nishiki in one go. He switches his focus to Kaneki, and Kaneki is trying to resist, but he's like, oh, you can't do shit, mate. Here's a punch, here's a kick, what do you want next? And Toka pulls up out of nowhere, like, how about a sneak attack, motherfucker? A little back and forth happens between Tsukiyama and Toka. Apparently, they knew each other a few years ago. Tsukiyama gets a second wind, and all of Toka's attacks are just doing nothing. And finally gets a taste of Kaneki and fucking creams himself. And then fucks up Toka, reiterates his plan of the living turducken, walks up to Kimi, notices her scar. She's got a scar on her shoulder. He's all like, ugh, disgusting. And then Nishiki has a flashback. Nishiki is talking to his sister about how meat is murder and he'd never eat anyone. She has to start working since they haven't got any parents to support them. It's just him and his sister. A few years pass. She's all mysterious about what she does for work. And she's dead in his arms. Nishiki finds the guy who snitched on her and got her killed for being a ghoul, never being able to trust anyone again. Later on in his life, he finds Kimi at a vending machine and he does some, I could use her later. And like, you know, it's some real fucked up manipulative shit. Unfortunately for her, he actually manages to get with her despite the fact he's just fucking grooming her. This is the second or like third instance of grooming in this fucking anime. They get to know each other a little, and he asks her how she got the name Kimi, and she cries about it, and it never comes up again. Flash forward to the same night, Kaneki fucked his shit up and Kimi finds out he's a ghoul. He tries to cash in the whole "I'm using you as a health potion" thing. He also thinks that she's going to report him for being a ghoul, so he's going to end up dying like his sister, so he can't be having that. But Kimi actually offers her shoulder up to heal him up, and without hesitation, he just noms her shit. She tells him about her family died in a car accident the day she met him. He gave her a reason to keep living. It's actually really sweet. All he needed was one bite from her shoulder and then he'd go back to full health. Flash forward back to the present day, and that explains why Kimi's got a massive scar on her shoulder. Nishiki then gets his second win trying to fuck up Tsukiyama, but Tsukiyama reveals without eating people, ghouls are weak as fuck, and Nishiki hasn't eaten anyone in a while, so he just beats up Nishiki very easily, and his whole second win was for nothing. Toka is also all weak because of her friend's cooking. Kaneki sees this and hatches a plan. He lets Toka eat a bite of his shoulder, and then she powers up. Tsukiyama sees her eating him, and he's like, "No, you can't have him. He's mine!" And she's all like, "No." And then episode 6. Returning to where we last left off, Toka and Tsukiyama are having a final showdown. She fucks him up, but he gets stronger. Tsukiyama then starts jumping around the walls and shit like he's Bellamy from One Piece. Turns towards Kimi and gets ready to take a chomp out of her. He's planning to get even more stronger with his bite, but Nishiki gets in the way and stops him. You'd think all these loud crashes and bangs and anime fight noises would bring the attention of the doves, but apparently not. Anyway, Nishiki stops him and Toka hacks Tsukiyama's whole arm off. He starts cackling like nothing happened, limping over to Kaneki. He's all like, "Please, just give me that dick." And Toka gets to finish him off with one final punch to the chest. Tsukiyama's nothing to worry about now. Nishiki goes to check if Kimi's okay, and Toka comes up like, "We have to kill her because she knows too much, Men in Black style, except they haven't got the neuralizer." Nishiki looks at her like, are you being for real right now? We just fought to fucking save her. What are you talking about? Kaneki tries to plead mercy with her, like, you wouldn't download a car type shit. You wouldn't hurt one of your best friends, would you, if they were in this situation? And Toka says that's the reason why she has to do this, to protect the people she loved. I'm guessing if Kimi does end up telling the police about them, then like all of the people in their like inner circle gets put into question as well. Nishiki's all like, no, I'm not letting you do this, and she just ends up fucking up Nishiki even more to wonder how he's even alive at this point. Just as Toka gets to the altar, Kimi looks at Toka and is like, "Wow, you're pretty." That was enough to stop her in her tracks and make her go away. Nobody's called her pretty before, apparently, and she has an existential crisis. Back at the cafe, everyone just brushes off what happened earlier, and now Nishiki works for the cafe as well. Toka's all sad in her room, and Hinami wants to go see her dad, and she runs away all upset. Kaneki talks to Hinami's mum, Ryoko, to see what's up. Turns out they both haven't heard from Hinami's dad at all in a while. No clue as to where the guy is or what's going on. Remember that doctor guy from a few episodes ago? Yep, that's Hinami's dad. Kingpin is actually putting the squeeze on him, metaphorically intimidating him and shit, and the doctor gives him a new pair of those clipper plier things that he's been wanting for like the past few episodes now. Kingpin reveals he found out the doctor is actually working with the humans, which you can't have. Then Kingpin puts the squeeze on him more literally, and they show his blood just splatter all over the building and onto one of Hinami's pictures. Kingpin then throws him out the building anime style, and he manages to break the walls. The doves show up just as this fight is starting to go down. It's Armand and Mardo. They're there just in time to fight Kingpin. All of this is going down while Hinami is still actively like upset and worried for her dad. Like, he's missing, they don't know where they are. It's really fucking sad. Ryoko's trying to console Hinami, tell her her dad's doing okay and everything's gonna be fine. The doves are still actively trying to get Kingpin. He's like the priority right now, but Kingpin's got better moves than the doves and he escapes. The doves shift their focus towards Hinami's dad, and Hinami's dad starts using his Kagune. It's getting more and more upsetting as they then show Hinami all sad, still talking about her father being missing, and her mother finally calms her down, and just as that happens, they go back to the doves killing her father, dead. The doves put his corpse into a body bag. Neither Ryoko nor Hinami knows that this has happened. It's just so sad. After that roller coaster, they return to Toka's problems, and she's sad in her room, lying on her bed listening to Paramore. Kaneki shows up trying to find out why she's so sad. She's sad because she failed to kill Kimi, possibly fucking up the whole operation they got going on. Kaneki makes her feel better by telling her Hinami is doing great, she's a lot less sad now, and family is a great thing, and society would be a lot better if it had some perspective, which it could do. It's their job to do that, shape the future and whatnot. Maybe if society used Kimi and Nishiki's relationship as a guidepost, maybe the whole ghouls versus human thing wouldn't be so bad. He also apologizes for fucking up her relationship with her friend, which is just a misunderstanding. I don't get why she doesn't talk to her friend, but it's whatever. I looked up the whole thumbs up thing. I couldn't find anything on why she did it or what it means. I also found out her name is Yuriko. I realized that I forgot to mention that earlier. She didn't pop up again this season, so it's whatever. Toka starts to feel a bit better and starts listening to more happy music like Unwritten. Kaneki goes back to the coffee shop and talks to Hinami and teaches her some new words. She finishes her book and asks to get a new book. Trust me, this is important for later. Book. She wants a new book because she wants to impress her dad to show her all the new words she's learned. And just to rub salt in the viewer's wound, they cut to a scene of a bunch of CCG motherfuckers asking people on the street if they know Hinami's father, who we all know is dead. And they show a picture of his blood splattered all over Hinami's drawing from before. It's just so sad. Hinami and her mum are coming back from the bookshop. Hinami does some more, oh boy, I can't wait to see dad stuff. She's just really excited and roaring to see her father. And it gets worse. She can smell what she thinks is her father's smell, so she starts running towards it, all the while being followed by CCG people who spotted them earlier. When Hinami finally reaches the end of her father's scent, she finds out it's not her father, actually, it's the doves Armon and Mardo. And this face right here encapsulates how we all feel right now, and sadness ensues. Ryoko tells Hinami to run while she still can. Even more sadness ensues as she slips away looking for help. She's running across the street, bumping into people, just looking for anyone to help her. She's disoriented. She's only a small child. There's only so little she could do. It keeps cutting back and forth between Hinami and Kaneki. Kaneki's walking around on the street. Maybe he's on the same street. Maybe he's on a different street. Nobody knows. End credits.